Welcome to my messy bedroom floor. I wanted to show a little project I've been working on for quite some time now, and I've actually finally got a successful build, and it is running my Pro 2 just fine with a few bucks. So this is a Pro 2 mixing console here that has unfortunately suffered a motherboard failure of its Advantech AIMB 224G2 motherboard that is inside. Without that motherboard, this board is basically dead in the water. I tried a few things. I had a GLD80 that suffered some physical damage, and thankfully, its SBC was available. I tried to use this SBC to no avail. There's a few problems with this SBC that stopped me from using it. One is that I could not just do a drag and drop with the SSD. The other problem is the LVDS was different. And number three, it needed a 19 volt rail instead of the 12 volt rail available in the console. So this board, it kind of didn't make the cut. I needed to first try to figure out the OS before I try to figure out a motherboard, because at this point we're going to look at a more modern solution. Thanks to the generous conversations with a man by the name of Andy Colick over on Facebook and the Midas Pro series user and a couple other guys in the group forums, I've gotten to this. I am running the Midas Marmoset and Master Controller applications in a virtual machine on my laptop. The board will not go out like this, trust me. But this is a good proof of concept. I've taken a little bit of a different approach from what Andy used, and my approach is that I'm actually using Debian 11 where he is using Debian 12. I think the code name for this one is Stretch. It might be Bullseye. I cannot remember, but I just know it's Debian 11. He used Debian 12, which is codenamed Bookworm. None of us are brave enough to try this on Debian 13 Trixie, so we're holding back with these older versions of Debian. What helped me out is the Linux 5 kernel. Now, Andy has managed to compile a Linux 6.1.0 kernel, and his board runs great. He also has built in a mini PC, and his Pro 2C is working great. I am not that lucky. I am not a Linux developer by trade. I know my way around a Linux kernel. I know my way around building basic Linux things and making applications work. I, however, am not a Linux developer by any stretch of the imagination. This is running with the Midas programs. This is not a modified program in any way, shape, or form. This is Midas's original, their original binaries. There's no modifications to these binaries whatsoever. This is the original binaries. I'm having to go a little bit more of a manual approach. I still have a lot of work to do to get this more automated, and then I'm going to focus on putting a new PC inside of the console. The PC that I'm going with as of now is a ASRock Industrial IMB V1000M. This board will accept a 12 volt rail, and it has an AMD Ryzen V1605B. I'm going to be running this same OS and applications. I've got to figure out a few things like some programming things with using the window manager that I've selected. In my case, I'm using the window manager TWM. I think Andy might have used Fluxbox. I'm not 100% sure. I know I'm using TWM. It's working great. The original Midas OS and image uses Fluxbox. I'm not that good with Fluxbox, and I do know my way around TWM. The Marmoset application does work great. I've had zero issues, and the soft buttons on the mixer do in fact work. I do have a few things I need to figure out how to sort out, and maybe the community can come in and help. I cannot shut the board down from Marmoset. I don't know what I need to do to connect the calls. Midas's original system used a situation where the application and the libraries and everything lived on separate partitions. They mapped to 3 or 4 directories in the Linux file system, and they use separate partitions. I am currently running with one partition, and it seems to work absolutely fine. I've copied all the system partitions over to one partition on this Debian 11 install that you see in front of you, and overall, it is working great. I actually just got done making the board pass audio. We're not getting any buffer overflows. This virtual machine is on an x64 kernel with the i386 architecture added. Because the system that I am going to use does not have the binaries capable of running i386 natively, so I'm going to have to use a 64-bit OS. A few little issues that I have is, as you can see, this left bank of 8 faders is not working. It doesn't even light up, but when I do use these, it is working flawlessly. As you can see, I can turn things up. Motorized faders work. All of the lights light up. I can navigate. I can extend. There's a lot of things that are working. Of course, the trackpad's not working because it is not connected to the laptop. I will resolve that once I mount a motherboard in here. I've got to go through the settings and try to figure out how to wake this left bank of 8 faders up. And I'm having a couple issues with some of the buttons up here, and it could be the board. Like, for instance, these sends on fader buttons are not working. But I think maybe it's because I don't have something enabled correctly. This is very fresh. But overall, this is a working Pro2C. I could take this out on a gig. Just like this, it would be just fine. It would be usable. I do need to figure out how to get everything working correctly and make an automated script. I'm working on that now. This is a largely unmodified Linux 5.1.0 kernel, and it ran the applications quite natively. The 6.0 kernel, 6.1.0 kernel does require a little bit of modification. Shouldn't be that hard. I will figure that out and recompile that kernel and maybe try to port this into Debian 12 Bookworm. I do know that I was able to launch Master Controller on Debian 12 by using a Docker container running Ubuntu 14.04 as an i386 binary. It was able to work just fine, but I would try to keep everything a little more native and not rely on services like Docker. The system is stable. It is passing audio. I just got done listening to some music on it. And overall, I'm very impressed with how this came out. There's a lot of work to do because I don't want to have to run 30 Linux commands every gig I go to. So I'm going to write some scripts that will launch on startup and basically bring it up like it is a Pro 2 console running the original motherboard. So that's pretty much what I've got going on right now with this Pro2C. I've got a lot of work to go, but so far, as you can see, it is working. It is passing audio, and it's pretty cool to see this up and running. This board hasn't seen the light of day in about 4 months. So looking forward to what else I can get done with this console. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have one.